Today's episode is going to be talking about Tremors. We're going to talk about Tremors 1 and Tremors 2, which is the best in the franchise. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And I know y'all didn't get a quick shot of that, so I'll do that again. We're going to talk about the short-lived Tremors, the series. Trying to get the glare off of it. Anyway, Tremors, the first Tremors movie was released in 1990 by Universal Studios, and at the time it was pretty much a big flop. Kevin Bacon was having nightmares and wondering why in the hell am I doing a movie about big ass worms? But needless to say, Tremors came and went out of the theaters, and then with the invention of VHS rentals, it became a cult classic. Tremors is the story of two handymen, Val Marquis and Earl Bassett, that live in a small town in Nevada called Perfection, Nevada. Pretty much the day they decide that they're going to get the hell out of town and leave for good, it's just a little too late for that, because there's something under the ground. Something under the ground. We have Reba McEntire as Heather, and Burt Gummer is played by Michael Gross. They're like survivalists. So yeah, they're waiting for World War III. Burt Gummer's got all these guns and all this shit. And there's Walter Chang that runs the little store in town. Then there is Mindy and her mother, Nancy. There is old Fred, who is like an old man who lives on the outskirts of Perfection, Nevada, that is a gardener and keeps like cattle and chickens and stuff. And then there's Edgar Deebs, who's like pretty much the Perfection, Nevada drunk. There's Melvin, who is a kid that is just left there all by himself for God knows where his fucking parents is. It's never really said where his parents is, but it seems like I read somewhere that his parents are always in Vegas gambling. Then there's Miguel. He's pretty much like a farmer who keeps sheep. Then there's Nestor, who hires Val and Earl to do jobs for him all the time, whether it be cleaning out septic tanks, cleaning up garbage, and all this and that and the other. Well, needless to say, there's these two old, well, they're not really old, but there's these two guys working on the highway, and when Val and Earl decide to leave town, they find the roadway blocked. Then they have to go back to town, where they find that underneath their truck there is this big long snake-like thing like attached to their truck. So in the words of Burt Gummer, this thing stalled out your truck? Yeah, must be one strong son of a bitch. But at this point, you know, it's just a snake thing. So they don't understand like what's going on. If this thing is that powerful to stall out a truck, then damn. But anyway, they decide to go back toward town, and they find out when they leave town again, or maybe it's prior, it's been a little while since I've seen the movie, that old Fred is dead. They find old Fred's head. So needless to say, with the roadblock, the only way they can get out is they have to walk or take horses. Well, earlier in the movie, they met a geology student named Rhonda LeBeck, working with seismos and stuff. So they're going to try to get Rhonda to get back into town and all that. And I think that Burt Gummer and Heather goes looking for her and don't find her, because needless to say, later on, after they find out that a doctor and his wife are missing, and they can hear like the radio from the car underneath the ground where the car had been buried by a tremor. Then they're like riding back toward town, and the horses get spooked, and they fall off the horses, and Earl's like, "What about my horse?" and sees that them snake things are biting him. He goes, and then Val goes, "There must be 1,000,000 of them." Then this big old worm bursts through the ground, and he goes, "No." Earl goes, "Nope, just one." And Earl goes, "What in the hell are they?" Val cocks the gun and goes, "Sons of bitches." Yeah, good fucking movie. Tremors is a great fucking movie. Needless to say, the town is overrun by the graboids. But before that, Val and Earl managed to kill one by outrunning it, and it hits a big old concrete ditch and kills it. At this point, they find Rhonda LeBeck. They make it to a rock, and they're pretty much stuck, and that pisses Earl off. Well, next morning, they decide that they're going to pole vault out of there. So they're pole vaulting, and they pole vault to Rhonda's truck, and when they pole vault to Rhonda's truck, they get back into town, and slowly but surely, the Tremors are destroying the town. Well, a little bit earlier in the movie, before the Tremors start actually destroying the town, Walter Chang gives them the name of graboids. And him and Melvin sitting around trying to come up with the name for them. He says, "We discovered them, we should name them." Anyway, Walter Chang ends up getting killed. The graboids are pretty much taking the town out from underneath them, and they've got to get out or they're going to die. Well, they hear Bert holler at him from a walkie-talkie and tell him to get up on the roof, and he's like in his basement, and he's got like all these guns and shit, and then all of a sudden, one of the big graboids burst through the wall, and they're shooting them with every damn bit of ammunition they've got, and that graboid's not dying. So then Bert Gummer, he goes over and busts in his gun cabinet and pulls out the elephant gun. And at this point, he shoots it a couple times, and the graboid falls dead. And then he says, "You broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you big bastard?" Well, this is where it gets funny. The TV version of Tremors that aired in 1992 on NBC is actually a better version of the movie, because the way they edit the dialogue makes it funny. If you look on my channel here on YouTube, I have a video of some scenes cut from that particular showing where they edited it. And at the scene I just mentioned, he's like, on the TV version, he's like, "You just broke into the wrong goddamn rec room, didn't you, you big jerk?" But anyway, another thing that I forgot to mention earlier in this video is that Edgar Deeds, the town drunk, ends up dead on top of a big electrical tower. Well, up until this point of the movie, there is no mention of Edgar Deeds until they see him hanging on the electric tower. In the deleted scenes for the movie, it shows old Fred bringing Edgar's mule some carrots and stuff, and that they're going to get together to play cards, and Edgar says he'll bring the ammunition, means that he's going to have the alcohol. Well, then Edgar takes his mule into the barn, and the barn starts shaking, and Edgar goes in there looking for his mule, and he sees the hole, and the mule ain't there. So he reaches over his head and grabs his gun and takes off into the desert. They don't say anything about that in the movie, but that little deleted scene lets you know how Edgar got on that tower, because he was going off into the desert with his gun. Well, anyway, the Tremors pretty much destroy the town, so they have to come up with a way that they're going to get the hell out of there. So they think about the cat, the big bulldozer, but the thing is, they got so many people, they all can't fit on the bulldozer. So they take this old tanker truck that's had like a tanker that's had the top cut off of it. They attach it to the cat, as they call it, and they're picking everybody up. So on the way, they're about to the mountains, and the graboids dig a trap, and the cat just nosedives. So then they have to make a run for the rocks, and it just so happened that Bert had made these pipe bombs on the roof while waiting for Val and Earl and the rest of them to come and pick them up off the roof. So they're using these pipe bombs to scare them in an opposite direction they want to run, and then they start going fishing by tying a pipe bomb to a rope and throwing it out there lit and letting them eat it and blowing them up. But the last one's too smart for them. It shoots the pipe bomb, blowing up virtually all the pipe bombs that Bert Gummer has left. So with one pipe bomb and one graboid still alive, what is going to happen here? We do not know until old Val says these bastards ain't smarter than us, and he takes off running. And Earl says, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I got a goddamn plan!" So he throws that thing, and Earl's like, "Oh, you threw it too far, you threw it behind him." But when it goes off, it just speeds that Tremor up, and he goes out the side of that cliff, and he goes, "Can you fly, you sucker? Can you fly?" So that's how they kill the final one. I hope I ain't ruined it for anybody, but if you haven't seen Tremors, that movie is 18 years old. So you have no fucking excuse not to have seen Tremors yet. So, in other words, at the end of it, they killed all the graboids or whatever, and everybody's getting ready to go on about their business and stuff. Val and Earl's getting ready to leave town after putting new tires on the truck because the graboids had destroyed their tires. And Rhonda's getting ready to be on research for the graboids and stuff. And Earl basically tells him that he needs to work up to asking Rhonda to be his woman. So him and Rhonda end up kissing at the end, and we got that great song by Reba McEntire called "Why Not Tonight" playing over the end credits. That's pretty much the gist of Tremors. It was not a big movie when it first came out, but when the second one came out, they didn't even release it to theaters, actually. But Tremors did get a sequel in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. Could have been 95, so don't quote me. I'm going off no script. This is pretty much ad-lib. But every Tremors movie to follow the first one was either straight to DVD or straight to VHS. And then when DVDs got more prominent, it was just straight to DVD. And then now we got Blu-ray, so straight to DVD and Blu-ray. Speaking of, there's a new Tremors movie coming out. I believe it's May 1st. Called Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell. So this will be the 6th Tremors movie. This video is just going to cover the first 2 and the TV series. Well, in Tremors 2, we pretty much figure out that something's going wrong down in Mexico, and this guy shows up at this old tow-behind trailer in Perfection, Nevada. Seems like Earl's been running an ostrich farm, and wants Earl to help him because they think they have a graboid situation down in Mexico. It is then that we discover what happened to Val. Because the guy goes, "We've already talked to your friend, Senor Marquis. He's unwilling to help us." And he goes, "Sure, Val married a good woman. Why would he want to die?" So Val and Earl pretty much split up, and Val seems to have got married to, we can assume, Rhonda LeBeck. And anyway, this guy's name's Grady. He's like the cab driver. He decides that he wants to go with Earl to Mexico to try to stop the graboids and stuff. And Earl don't want to do it because he said that he screwed up his big first chance with the graboids and shit, and he said he wasted it on a damn big bird and his scrawny girlfriend. But needless to say, Earl's got this poster hanging on his wall, Miss October 1973. And you're going to wonder why I even told you about that. Well, it's going to play out here later. I'm going to explain that. Anyway, they go to Mexico and stuff and start blowing up graboids with remote control cars with detonators. They are dragging chains behind the truck, which Earl is still using the truck that they used in the 1990 movie. And it drags the truck up on a rock, so they're stuck. So they radio for somebody to come and get them. And when they don't show up, they take off walking, carrying their Seismo with a big car battery, so that they can see when the graboids are coming after them or whatever. And they find out that the guy who come to got him, only thing's left is his arms. So what it turns out is that the graboids metamorphosize into something they call shriekers that hunts by heat. They got this thing on their head that pops up and they can tell where you're at by the heat. So they got to find out a way to stop all these graboids and stuff. So they hired Burt Gummer to come and help them. Burt Gummer sitting in his basement watching some kind of war documentary, and he's got the graboid head mounted on his wall, and then Earl tells him they got a graboid problem. The Mexican government is giving them whatever they need to stop this problem, guns, bombs, whatever they need. But then when the shriekers show up, they find out when they eat, then that's how they reproduce, by eating. And there's like all these graboids, and Bert traps them in this big shed, but there's no way for him to blow them up. And where they discovered that they hunt by heat, then Earl sprays himself down with CO2, gets in there, sets some bombs, and blows it up. And then that is pretty much the end of Tremors 2. Tremors 2 and the first one were my two favorites. But you have Tremors 3, Back to Perfection, where they have the new strand of our species of tremor called the Ass Blaster, which lights its own gas on fire and flies around. You have let's see, what would you call it? You have and the fourth one, it's basically a prequel. They're called Sand Dragons because it takes place in the 1800s. And then Tremors 5, they're like down in Africa, I believe is where it was at. And there's like this big super form of graboid. And in the new one, they're supposed to be in the Antarctic, I believe. But yeah, that's basically the gist of Tremors 1 and 2. Now we're going to talk just a little bit about the TV series. The Tremors TV series came out in 2003. This is the first original release of it. It only lasted 13 episodes. But the thing about the Tremors series is it wasn't just all graboid ass blaster related. Like, for example, let's see, Project 412. An old man in the desert creates a horrendous hybrid creature as a pet, and it's up to Bert to put the thing in its place before it uses X-ray vision to hunt down some tasty human treats. Then Ghost Dance, which says a potential ghost has everyone spooked when mummified spelunkers are found in an abandoned mine, and Bert fears it has something to do with the wildly unpredictable Mixmaster. Mixmaster was something that the government was working on to create some kind of like, what would you call it? Germ warfare, like airborne warfare stuff. And of course, you have the ones about the Shriekers, and there's one about people believing that a UFO is taking their friends, but they're really getting eaten by graboids. There's one called The Sound of Silence that says it's a creepy, crawly craziness when a swarm of wood-eating insects start tapping into their flesh-eating instincts and devour the town's residents one by one. Yeah, you just had weird episodes, but the series only lasted 13 episodes. The only one to return was Burt Gummer. They called the graboid El Blanco in this. He was a protected species. That means they couldn't kill him, which really pissed off Burt Gummer. The government wouldn't allow El Blanco to be killed. So they pretty much, if they want to stay there where they're at, then they have to live in peace with El Blanco. And you know, Burt Gummer being the gun nut, he just did not like that. Burt Gummer does like a little survival show to make money. They run a tour from time to time. Neat little series, but sadly it only lasted 13 episodes. There is a talk that Kevin Bacon is coming back to do his own Tremors the series. I'm interested to see if he's going to bring Earl Bassett back with him and some of the other still living stars, which Walter Chang sadly has passed away. Miguel has passed away. Nancy has passed away. The one who played Edgar, which he died in the original movie, so they couldn't bring him back. He's passed away. The one who played Old Fred's dead in real life. There's a bunch of them that's just dead and gone. But yeah, this was my thoughts on Tremors and Tremors 2 and the TV series. So tell me what you think right down there in that comments box right below this video. And if you want to see my thoughts on other movies, just tell me about that too. But until next time, this has been Let's Talk About, which is going to be like I'm going to talk about a movie or a TV show and do videos like this to give you all some kind of entertainment. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Until next time, you all have a great day.